Welcome back to the Star Trek Critic, where each episode is graded like a school project, starting with 100 points, losing 1 point for each error, while I analyze the show in ways never before thought possible. As scheduled, this will be the last episode using an AI-generated voice. Still photos are used extensively to prevent copyright claims, and although I have the high-definition Blu-ray version, that one is programmed to go to a black screen when you record, or even use the snipping tool, so as soon as I figure that hack out, these will be in high definition. Today's episode is The Inner Light, which won a Hugo Award for dramatic presentation. Sadly, most of the regular characters are only in it a brief time, and Deanna isn't in the show at all, so minus the first point. They found something in space. This is made out of ceramics, so the crew spends some time talking about how unsophisticated this 1,000-year-old probe is. If it is so unsophisticated, how did it just penetrate the shields and take over Captain Picard? 1 point is lost for the probe actually being able to do that so easily. Another point lost since this show should have been 2 hours long. Picard falls and Riker grabs him. Then when Picard opens his eyes, he noticed Riker has changed. And Picard is thinking, wow, the rumors about you really were true. He tries to contact the ship and turn off the computer program and realizes something is very wrong. 1 point is lost for Picard not checking if he has his artificial heart. That would prove he is in some fantasy program over being abducted. Shout out to the costume designers in creating an entire planet's worth of outfits. Even though this planet has limited technology, they still have automatic doors. Shout out to the set designers for creating a unique alphabet to the planet. All these outdoor scenes were filmed on an indoor set. They did an excellent job at simulating outdoor lighting. Keep an eye on the sapling, it changes over time. Bud Tai was played by Richard Ry Lee. He has done theater acting as well as more than 400 screen credits and still managed to get to a dying planet light years away and 1,000 years ago. He was on Office Space, Quantum Leap, and The Golden Girls. Droughts are no joke. North America experienced the Great Drought from 1275 to 1299, which devastated the Native Americans. There were previous droughts also in 300 AD and 500 BC. They did leave some evidence that they were here, so these must be preserved forever to remember them. But if you notice, all these droughts are about 800 years apart, so another major drought is coming. Picard takes a seriously long walk and discovers he now lives in an Italian village looking over a small river. It makes you wonder if that was filled with water a long time ago. This is a rare time he is wearing short-sleeve shirts, and you can see how muscular Patrick Stewart's arms really are. Here he is holding a hat, here he is not, so minus 1 point. Did you notice Eileen briefly stands on her toes? Picard is tired, so figures he will go back to that house for free food out of the cool crock-pot. Eileen was played by Margot Rose, with 65 screen credits, including Night Court, The West Wing, and will be back on Deep Space Nine. An Iron Weaver is something like metal art, but we never see him at his job, which could have been done if this was a two-parter. All these characters interact like sentient programs from the Matrix. The voice transit conductor sounds like a telephone, but it seems you have to go to a call center to use them here on this planet. Now comes the flute scene. He should hold on to that. It's sold for $250,000 to a collector. Eileen wants Picard to sleep with her, but he is thinking, she must think I'm Riker. This is the only time you see her necklace. He barely makes the connection, but it isn't clear how much control the probe has over him. Back on the Enterprise, they debate whether to destroy the probe to save Picard. Riker decides to back away from the probe, but it follows them. One issue is that after 40 years, Picard would wake up speaking their language, but since this is happening in his head, most likely the whole experience is going on in English. That would also apply to calculating time passing. Kamen talks about the little man and him working the controls. Eileen says, "I love you." Kamen says, "I know." So it's Eileen's job just to get him to experience Catan and stop thinking he is from the Enterprise. The sapling tree is getting bigger. Scott Jake has 70 screen credits including T.J. Hooker, Alien Nation, and will be back on Voyager. Kamen tells them they can create machines to collect water from the air. He saw it on Star Wars. The administrator says that will cost money. I think he already knows what's going to happen to the planet. One thing you never learn is how much time passed from the end of this scenario to the time the sun went nova. My guess it was less than 5 years. Kamen is thinking, I don't have to cut my hair anymore, maybe this is a good thing. This mention of vegetable stew doesn't mean he is a vegetarian, it implies that all the animals are dying. Strangely, the only French song Picard knows is Frère Jacques, and he should be able to play more on his flute after 5 years. This is one of the few times where you see a member of the crew have a best friend. Just a plain old hangout buddy. Usually the crew members just hang out with each other. Look how this door opens, and Eileen is really tall. Of course it could be an automatic door, and since this is all happening in Picard's mind, small errors get a pass. This reference to the shoes is a reminder he is living someone else's life right now. Eileen tells Batai to go home so they can make whoopee. Kamen says, "You know it's time to do the parenting thing. Personally, I'm surprised they haven't had a kid already. Unless there is something different about their biology we don't know about. But they appear human." Picard is thinking, "It's about time I got the girl instead of Riker." Back on the Enterprise, they all act surprised that a spacecraft would use solid propellant. Data believes he can block the signal. Beverly says that might not work. Worf wants to destroy the probe. Let's take a second to acknowledge the late Michael Braveheart as crewman Martinez. He played background characters for a whopping 85 episodes, and will be back on Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. Back on Katan, K-Men shows his musical skills. Although it is a non-working prop, the flute is one of the most valuable Star Trek props in their run. Personally, I would rather have the painting on the wall. Amber Connolly plays the young Maribor, who gets to live every kid's dream of playing in dirt on one of the most popular Trek episodes. Just look at the cute couple. In 60 years of Star Trek, this is one of the rare times a character has a complete family. Trek characters are usually depicted as loners who see their career mates as family. This makes you wonder if the Star Trek universe is implying that in the utopian future, nuclear families will soon be a part of our long-lost history, which is why Picard has so much trouble readjusting when he regains consciousness. Of course it doesn't help. The Enterprise crew is trying to unplug him. With 40 years of memories crammed into 25 minutes, I hope his heart attack didn't last a year or more in his mind. The late Patty Yasutake was on T.J. Hooker and Boston Legal. Jennifer Nash plays Maribor. She was born in Johannesburg and has been on Growing Pains, Blossom, and Sliders. She still loves playing in dirt, but the dirt is dead. Not good when the kids of the future know their own planet is going to die before them. K-Men tells her to hook up with her boyfriend while she still has the chance. And this is one of the most important Trek speeches, that everyone should seize the day, because in an M-bop, it will all be gone. Back in the Enterprise, less than 25 minutes have passed, which means that probe wouldn't have gotten that far. So -1 point. And since the star went nova 1,000 years ago, they wouldn't know the people of the planet called it Catan. -1 more point. It's surprising the planets even survived the explosion. Here is another reference to the shoes. He's had the telescope for 30 years, so this life has lasted a bit longer. Here comes their son, Batai. Kamen is thinking, "Damn, your real dad must be a sexy stud muffin," while Batai is thinking, "I can't believe my real father starred in a movie with naked alien vampires. Daniel Stewart is the real-life son of Patrick Stewart and a wee bit taller. Look close, they have the same nose." The reason they argue about music is since this whole episode is about that flute, which represents the inner light of his family. The little old couple discuss what wild, kinky sex they will have that night. Kamen tries to explain to the administrator what he has discovered, and that the first baseman will understand, and what's happening is worse than the narrator using an AI-generated voice. But they already know what is happening, and need to keep it a secret. This is similar to what happened on Krypton in the first Superman movie. The council didn't want to tell the public since it would cause chaos until their last days. Here the administrator explains to Kamen the limitations of their world. It's like he realizes Picard is from another planet. They have a plan, but that's also what the Cylons said. Just like on a holodeck, there is a distraction to end the conversation about the missiles. It's time for Eileen to say goodbye. Of course her last words are to put his shoes away. Aww. One thing you don't know is how much time has passed here. Did Eileen ever get to meet her grandson? This is probably what triggers such an emotional response in the audience, since we only get to see glimpses of what happens in a 40-year period. Maribor looks great in a sun hat and dress. Happy day, is what they all say on this planet. Batai says, "Look, Dad, my hairline is catching up with yours." Kamen is now a grumpy old man that doesn't want to watch a launching. The grandson's name is Kami. He is also the first baseman. It's very bright outside. The whole planet should know by now that their sun is going nova. Of course, this is a computer simulation, so the characters wandering around are probably programmed not to panic. Now comes one of the saddest scenes in Trek history. All these people want is for someone to tell the rest of the galaxy about them. That they were here, who they were, but couldn't escape their star going nova. It's possible that they launched more missiles, so the Enterprise should go looking for them. and maybe take a trip to the star system to look for evidence of their existence. The program is complete, and Picard wakes up. He says it was the second baseman. He asks Riker how long. Riker says that's a personal question. Picard is thinking, wow, I was there but never got to show them my cool gray shirt. Beverly takes him off to sickbay. I'm surprised he can even stand up. They should roll him there in a wheelchair. Picard is in his quarters wondering why the lights are so dim. He should go see Deanna for counseling. But she isn't even on the show. Riker says the probe isn't functioning anymore. They should still put a research team on the probe since it might have some type of history program. All they found in the probe was the flute. Whatever you do, if you find a flute that has been drifting in space for 1,000 years, don't put it in your mouth. So the flute is all he has left of that inner light of Catan and him having a family. He probably would have written a book about his experiences after this. It's highly unlikely he would be able to continue his current job unless he went through some serious counseling, because all he has left of that trip is his music. One thing this episode points out is how important these two probes are. Voyagers 1 and 2 are the only two probes going out into the galaxy telling aliens that we are here, using beautiful gold records. NASA was planning on sending more probes out until 1979, when Star Trek made a movie about Voyager 6 coming back to destroy the Earth, so they canceled the program claiming it was about the budget. However, it is still important to reach out to our galactic neighbors in case we ever need help. Or they need help from us. The Inner Light, a fan favorite due to its excellent representation of the true meaning of science fiction, gets a score of 92. So, what happened on Season 5? Selah. Darmok, Ensign Ro, Giant Crystal. The ship hits a bump. Riker gets a hooker, while Wesley gets Ashley Judd. Selah meets Spock, a time-traveling con artist. Worf's son moves in while they go space surfing. Data gets a sidekick, a really bad person. Stuffy isolationists don't want help. Ro jumps Riker. Space ghosts become pirates. A terrible doctor. An outcast goes into the closet. Kelsey Grammer time travels. We meet Boothby. Alexander hangs out with Mrs. Troy. Ferengi mess up an arranged marriage. Scary Child tries to kill everyone. They kidnap a Borg. Geordi and Ro travel through walls. Picard has a family. Of course, there are always 3 that are on the not-to-be-missed list, while 3 you should pass up. Be sure to leave comments below, click that like button, the subscribe button, and share with all your friends, and come back next week for Time's Arrow.